Welcome to Two Blondes and Brokerage. Today we are going to talk about the 3 types of home inspections.
Yes.
And not even home inspections, but 3 things that go along with your home inspection.
Yeah, 3 components, I guess, of a home inspection.
Yep.
Yeah, and the first one is a sewer scope. So this is where they come in usually through like the toilet or a washout, yeah. And they take a little camera and they scope all the way down through the main line, all the way out to like the city line. And what you're looking for specifically is like standing water, blockages, root intrusion, any cracking in the sewer line. And then something we've seen in older homes too is the clay pipes. So they used to all be clay pipes, and what happens with the clay pipes obviously is that they erode over time. And so eventually they're going to need to be replaced. And so that costs about $125 to just do the scope. And they send you like a little video of it, so you get to watch through your sewer lines. Super fun. And they'll usually include like little notes as far as like what needs to be fixed. The most typical I feel like is issue anyway is root intrusion.
Yeah.
And how they like hydrojet a line to clean it all out. And I think that's only like $100 to have that done.
You can do 99 with like Roto-Rooter.
Yeah. And so and you want to do that pretty often. I think they recommend doing it like either once a year or every couple years, so that you can just clean out those roots often. They're not growing through or causing major cracks in the line. So that's the most common issue with the sewer scope. We have had in our office recently a client that needed to replace the whole line, and that's very expensive. And I think it was like $25,000. 15? 17. I was in between. And to do that, so this is like, really important why we talk about doing pre-inspections is because you want to inspect all that beforehand so that you don't get under contract and then they find out, oh my gosh, you need a whole new line. And you can always do that before you go on the market even. So it is important and it can be expensive to repair. So you don't want to take items that come on a sewer scope lightly. But there are some things, and all home inspectors do this, where they make a mountain out of a molehill.
Yes.
And so you want to talk to someone, whether that be a plumber or your agent, like, are these serious things? Are these expensive to repair? Are these just normal maintenance items? And I think that's really important because we're not sewer experts, and most consumers are not sewer experts either. And so you always want to do a sewer scope. Now for an HOA situation where it's like a condo townhome, typically they don't do sewer scopes on those because the HOA is responsible for maintaining all of the lines in the building because they go through shared walls. So it's not common to see a sewer scope in an HOA or a townhome where it's in that type of HOA, but you do want to know your responsibilities. So like you get those HOA documents, you want to review them to make sure that's the case, and then in that situation you would not do a sewer scope.
Well, and the biggest thing with sewer scope is a lot of people think that their homeowner's insurance covers sewer, and they don't. So we did find out with the unfortunate situation in our office that there's a rider that can be added to your homeowner's insurance. I'm pretty sure it's for any homeowner's insurance company that you can add a rider to, and it basically covers just specifically your sewer line.
Yep.
Now, again, I have seen it fluctuate with HOAs, even though they have the coverage of that. It doesn't always mean that it covers like the whole replacement of it. So it's good again to do your due diligence and really read through your docs, but you can always add the rider to that. I don't know the cost of it. It's probably very minimal, to be honest, over the year. But on top of, we are huge advocates of home warranties.
Yep.
Whether we buy it, seller buys it, or you buy it yourself, they can be huge money savers.
Yep,
so being able to add that rider to it's really awesome.
Yep. And then another part of the home inspection would be the radon test. It's a similar cost as a sewer scope. It's about $100 to $125. And how a radon test works is you set up a little machine in the basement or in a crawl space, and the machine reads the levels of radon gas in the home over 48 hours. So it's really important during that time that you keep windows and doors shut because the radon levels fluctuate, and so you want to make sure that you're getting a really good reading, an accurate reading. And what we're looking for in a radon test is that the radon level is below 4. And I don't know about you, but I've seen radon levels like 20 and higher. and people that were living in the home and had no idea. And it can be mitigated, and it's not expensive even. Like I know SWAT installs mitigation systems for like $800, and then you retest, and then you make sure it's bringing the radon levels down. But it's important because they have a linked radon gas to cancer, so you want to know. And something that I learned recently, so we typically only do the radon tests in homes with basements, but I recently learned, you probably already knew this, that mountain homes, particularly like on the Fairplay Breck side, typically have really high levels of radon even if they're not underground. And so like the house we specifically tested, I think tested at 15 or 17, and it wasn't even an underground basement, so super high. So it's important to do, and for me it's like peace of mind. You know, like spending $125 to have peace of mind is worth it when you're making a really huge investment.
Well, and what a lot of people don't understand is, so in the state of Colorado, it's not by law, but it is highly recommended that if you're doing an inspection and you have a radon test come back over for, that you ask the seller to mitigate. Seller can say no, seller can give you a concession, but it is not, when I first got into the business, I thought it was law.
Yeah.
That after, above 4, seller has to have it mitigated. No. Not the case, and a lot of radon companies will make you think that.
Right.
But it is an important thing to test. I mean, all the mountain properties are going to be high just because of the soil out here, but out east I've had some come back over 20 in Fort Morgan. It was an unfinished basement, but it's a very, I mean, it all adds up when our clients are like, it's $1,000 for inspection with service scope and whatever. But it's all relative when you look at kind of the long-term effects that it can save you from. And I wanted to step back really quick with septic, or not even septic, with sewer. So if you are looking at property with a house on it, and you do have a septic, there are a couple different things to keep in mind with that too. So a sewer scope's easy because they can go in and they just go from your main line all the way out to public. With a septic, a lot of times there's misconception of whose responsibility that is, right? So we have the seller and the buyer. So with septic checks, they're even more not fun to see videos of. But it is technically your responsibility as a buyer to do your due diligence, but the seller has to make sure, we have to make sure there's a leach field. So there's a lot of parts and pieces when you start to deal with land and septic that's really important to keep in mind.
And every county is different as far as whose responsibility is to have the septic system checked before the sale. So that's always a requirement, is that the septic system has to be checked before transfer of title can happen. But as far as whose responsibility it is to pay someone from the county to come out and do that varies by county. So that's a really good point, and it is different.
And it does vary by price too. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, and like you talked about, inspections are expensive, and we understand. But like we said, small price to pay for a really huge investment. And to me, I look at it like, if you're gonna make a huge investment in the stock market, you have no idea what you're getting into. Like you can do your own investment, or whatever, research on it, but you don't really know. When you're purchasing a home, you have the right to know. And that's why we do these inspections, is so that you know exactly what you're investing in and the quality of the product, essentially, that you're investing in. So it's important, and it's worth every penny to know what you're walking into. And the third piece of the home inspection components would be the actual home interior inspection. And when they do the home inspection, they also inspect the exterior, like they'll do the roof. Usually it's a video if they can't climb up there, and the exterior of the windows and stuff. They'll test exterior outlets as well. But mostly what they're looking at is the systems inside the home, the appliances, the outlets, wear and tear on flooring, carpet, whatever. Do faucets and sinks work, and are there any leaks? And so that's where the bulk of the report comes from, because that's usually 60 to 80 pages, extremely thorough. They take pictures of everything, they point out everything, and we always talk about in our office they have a CYA policy. They're trying to cover their own ass. So they're going to be extremely diligent in pointing out every little thing that is wrong with that house. And I think that freaks a lot of buyers out, because they're like, oh my gosh, I thought I was getting this great house, and this is a 60-page report of everything that's wrong with it. A lot of it is minor cosmetic stuff. cracked face plates of, you know, an outlet or a cracked tile on the kitchen floor or wear and tear on the carpet. A lot of it is cosmetic stuff that you're going to replace, and that's normal with the wear and tear of a home. But there are some things that are big deals that you need to look out for, like, you know, leaks that could cause mold, or appliances that aren't working that could be expensive to replace. A super old HVAC system, a furnace that won't turn on. The roof, the deck. I mean, there's a lot of things that are important that are big ticket items, and that's kind of where you turn to your realtor and you're like, okay, what is nitpicky cosmetic stuff that I can fix over time? What are urgent matters that need to be addressed right away? And like, you know, we talked about a clogged or deteriorating sewer line or radon or roof or leaks. You know, there are some things that should be addressed right away, and all items are negotiable. So even the tiny stuff, you can always ask. Most likely,
say no.
Yeah, the answer is going to be no, most likely. But for large ticket items, and especially now in the market, we're seeing inspection objections come back, which I'm so happy about.
Me too.
Because I don't think buyers should have to take homes in exact as is
Just
condition.
because, yeah.
No, so now we're seeing people get to actually ask for stuff, which I think is great. And so you're for sure most likely going to get the big ticket items taken care of, or at least get the home warranty or the roof certification or something to help alleviate some of that financial stress if something does happen in the first year or two. But yeah, so the home inspection, it's expensive, it's worth it, it's very thorough, and it's there to help alleviate the stress of making this huge financial decision. And so you definitely want to use a trusted company.
Licensed and insured.
Yes.
Always.
Yep. And I always recommend that. I don't think that buyers should be there for the whole home inspection because there's no point, and they don't need to follow
and
the inspector around.
Don't need that either. They need to do their jobs. Yeah.
But I do think it's really important to come like the last 15 to 20 minutes and just have one-on-one time with the inspector to ask all those things. Yep. And he'll go over the whole report with you. And that way you can kind of hear it from him. And then he can kind of go over too, like, hey, I have to call this out. This isn't a big deal, but I have to, but I have to call it out.
Yep.
And so it's nice to be able to recap with your actual inspector while it's fresh, while you're there, and kind of get an overview of the whole report. And then you can go look through things later and decide what's important or not.
Well, there's two big, final things to that. So one, with an inspection, that is one big opportunity in the contract. You can protect your earnest money. So if there are things that the seller's not willing to budge on, and the seller doesn't always have to repair things.
Sure,
They can
100%.
give you a price reduction, they can give you a concession.
They can do nothing.
You can hold money in escrow to pay a contractor if they're like, look, we can't afford to pay for this, you can't afford to pay for this, but what we'll do is when we get our proceeds, I'll just have title, hold that money in escrow.
Yep.
And then we'll make it out to, X, Y, and Z contractor company. So yes, or like you said, they can say, we're not doing anything, buyer can say, cool, then we're not buying it. Terminate, get your earnest money back. But the other part to the inspection process too is this is the one and only time that you have someone that can help you look through walls. None of us are men in black, none of us have X-ray vision. There are some people who don't push inspections and it's just it's home ownership. It's not just home ownership.
Yeah.
So take the opportunity to get all of these done if it's applicable. They're not always applicable. But if they are, do them, and make sure that you're comfortable moving forward because it is a big purchase.
Yep, 100%.
So, yep.
Well, if you have any questions about home inspections or companies that we would refer, please feel free to reach out and we'd be happy to answer those questions for you.